Try taking them down with some food.
Okay. So here we are in Australia, and this is Rock This magazine. What do you think about that? That tastes pretty good there?
Hi, my name's Julie Smith. We are volunteers for our group, which is Wildlife Aid, and we look after macropods, which are kangaroos.
And macropods means large foot, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also have.
Yeah, my name's Brad Smith. I'm Julie's husband. I'm actually the macropod coordinator for the Hunter Valley where we live for our group, which basically puts me in charge of what we do with the kangaroos, the wallabies and the wallaroos, how we treat them, when we release them, whether they need to be euthanised, how much money we spend on them, with vet bills, all that sort of thing. And yes, I'm a carer along with my wife.
How did this get started?
Yeah, well, the group's been going about 10, 15 years, hasn't it? Yeah, and we more or less got involved probably about 5 years ago, and daughter brought home a joey one night that they found on the road, and from there we've just gone bang into it.
Oh my goodness.
We haven't looked back. We love it. It's just so rewarding. Yep.
So you brought this joey home, and then all of a sudden you fell in love and figured out that you were going to change your house and devote your life to rescuing and rehabilitation.
Yep. That's
Okay.
it.
How does it get funded?
All of our money basically comes from donations from business houses and mines and that sort of thing around in the valley. A lot of the mines donate money because we have to go out to a lot of the mines and pick joeys up from dead mothers that have been hit by cars on the way to work. Yeah, that's basically how it's done. We sort of run on a shoestring budget because you can imagine the feed bills are very high for looking after a joey. Basically, when you get a small one, which is a fair bit smaller than this, to release, it's 18 months. So it's a lot of food, a lot of milk, and various other things we need to keep the joeys healthy.
Do you have any food manufacturers or anything that kick in and kind of help out with that? Or?
No, I think we pay basically the same price anyone else would. The group helps fund our food through giving us rebates on our food, and we have to. The vets sort of help out a little bit. They don't charge exactly the price that they pay. We give them a lot of business, of course, and there's always sick joeys or joeys that are beyond help and need euthanizing and things like that. And
beyond the humanitarian part of rescuing the orphans and things like that, you know, what do you feel is the importance of having an organization like this?
Basically gives these little fellas a chance. You don't have to drive anywhere in the Hunter Valley and see all the dead roadkill, dead mothers, dead fathers on the side of the road. Well, these joeys generally, in a lot of situations, would either just die of exposure if they don't get killed in the initial car accident, or they would die from predation.
Yeah.
So we give them a chance, and
we get them back.
Hopefully they go back to the wild and reproduce.
How many times a day do they get fed?
She's on 6 feeds a day. Some are on 5. Some are on.
Are these done?
Yeah. Dear little girl, you out of your pouch. Are you?
Wow.
And plus, after we've fed them, we usually get them out and a bit of exercise and stand up and stretch and don't we? Yes, we do. Is that good?
Yeah, get kind of active in that pouch there.
Is that good?
Well, they're pretty hungry. There's definitely no.
Oh yeah. They need more, but you can only give them what's the exact amount that's required. Otherwise, you can make them very sick.
And see, it's back on again at 3 o'clock. They all get fed at 3 o'clock. And then there's some that get fed at 4:30. And then we have 5. And then with 7 again.
7 o'clock, and then some at 9:30.
And then 11.
So once you have a joey here and you rehabilitate it and introduce back into the wild, do you feel that it still keeps, because I know like with canines, the genetics, you can never tame the wildness out of like a wolf. But do you feel that it's not going to come back to people in stay wild out there and try to do its own thing where people can't take advantage of it? Or
Any macropod, well, basically any animal, I think, does retain some ability to interact with humans.
Mm-hmm.
They've all got different personalities, so they all interact in different ways. Some are very clingy, others are aloof, and they're quite happy for you to give them a bottle and then run off.
Wow.
Others will sit in your arms all day and don't want to go anywhere and do anything else, and that's part of the thing we have to do, is to get them ready to be released. We introduce them to the bush fairly early. We introduce them to other joeys fairly early, so they don't cling to our apron string, sort of thing.
Good communication skills with you. Okay,
They
that's
need
good.
a buddy.
Yeah.
Good.
And
Good.
We give them every chance to assimilate themselves back into the bush. And I mean, some of them don't leave straight away. They might take months and months to leave. Others will leave overnight, and others will come back months later with a joey in the pouch. Say, "Have a look at this," and then off they go again.
Wow.
Then they come back and show you their new babies.
Maybe, yep.
You've just described all my past relationships.
No, they come and go, and mainly the bucks. You don't see much of the big fellas, do you? Now and then you might see them, but the females seem to hang around that little bit longer.
Because they're smarter.
Yeah,
No, they feel
very secure.
They feel
here.
secure in our yard.
Safe,
Uh-huh.
There's no predators here.
Right.
There's plenty of green grass, plenty of food, plenty of places to sleep without having to worry or a dingo or anything like that, or a car that can harm them. They're just...
And they go off at afternoon, don't they? They just all go down through the bush and they've gone all night. And sometimes you mightn't see them for days or weeks, and then all of a sudden they're all here for some reason, and they've come back to say hello, and and which today they're all here.
Wow, that's fate right there. We got lucky with that one.
They're just,
Hi, little
we just
one.
love them. Yeah.
So, kangaroos are such a big thing for Australia. I mean, they're coat of arms. I mean, even Qantas Airlines and things like that. What do you feel that they also offer as more so than just, oh, that's cute, or like with in some countries, people see deer and and it's very stoic, or they love seeing the deer, or makes them feel close to nature. What do you feel that kangaroos?
These animals are how we're identified worldwide.
Yeah.
We're the only place really that has them, except in zoos and things like that. And the first thing people ask you when you go overseas is, "Have you ever seen a kangaroo? Have you got them in your yard?" Well, basically we have, and
I did the same thing.
yeah.
And we traveled like 1,600 kilometers and saw 4 of them, and then came back here and it's like, no way.
No, they're a national animal, and the way they're treated by some people is just a disgrace. And we feel that we owe them the respect to treat them properly. And,
Absolutely.
Along with the rest of native animals, not just kangaroos, not just wallabies or anything like that. But,
They're so cute. I mean, I can't believe.
Every single one of them has their own story.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Howard, you said they have different personalities and things like that. Do you have some of them that just don't want to come out of that pouch, and you have to bring them out and get some exercise, or?
When they first come in, they're very traumatised because they've lost their mother for a start, and all they've ever known is the inside of a pouch and a nipple since they were first born. And how they got out of that pouch, for whatever reason, whether they were hit by a car or their mother abandoned them or whatever, that's very traumatic for the joey. So you really have to show them a lot of care and attention when they first come in, to make sure that they can handle being with the human and not with their mother anymore.
And we're like a foster mother.
That looks very relaxing.
It's Woody.
That's Woody. So Mia has been out partying all night.
Yep.
Yep.
Come home for breakfast, and that's where I'm going to stay all day.
Oh.
Just leave me alone till I
Yes.
Jeez, I wish I
I'm
could
ready to
party
go out
like
again.
that again.
Okay, so this is Mia after a long night of partying in her hammock. I want a pouch like this. It'd have to be in a really big pouch. Do you feel that when you first get them, that it's better to just leave them alone and let them acclimate and adjust, or do you try to immediately start giving them affection and things like that?
No, we leave them alone for a few days to adjust to everything before we start giving them their cuddles and whatever. And they come around really quick, don't they? Not so much the big ones. The big ones are a little bit more harder to quieten down. But the little ones, they're just really great. It takes probably about a week to 2 weeks before they get to be, you know, they're just so quiet.
And you have to acclimatise them to a bottle. They're used to being attached to a
Oh,
nipple in their
right.
mother's teat,
Right.
in their mother's pouch, and they're attached to that from the day they're born. So yeah, now, suddenly they're not in this nice warm pouch anymore with constant food supply. They have to get fed a certain amount of times a day. They just can't feed when they want and all that sort of thing. So it's really is traumatic for them. Everything they know is gone.
Is that a rescue cockatoo out there?
No, he's just a wild one that comes here. He's got one leg.
He's only got one leg.
The animals just know this is the place to
Yeah.
Well, there's food around, that's why.
be. Wow.
Yeah, the
That's
cockies come
Oh, we've
here.
got every type of animal come here.
that is fantastic.
Every type of bird you can think of.
So, you know, people see videos where humans are trying to interact with kangaroos, and sometimes, you know, the kangaroos will kick them or something like that. How do you not get in that situation with your kangaroos?
We don't provoke them. I mean, you torment a kangaroo, of course it's going to stand. and it's
So
gonna have
what
a
we
go with
see
you.
on those videos
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
you know, after they've probably been provoked
yeah,
like that.
that's right. Yeah,
Not
no,
necessarily provoked at that instant. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it could be over a period of weeks
Right, and they
or
just
months that
happen.
they just, I've had enough.
Right.
I've had enough. Just leave me alone.
Any living
Yeah.
thing is like that.
Yeah. And I mean, they some of the bucks spar with me. I think they can tell I'm a male,
Yeah.
and they don't do it truly, but they do.
Yeah.
yeah,
And some of the females will do it as well, but it's not a fight to the death or anything like that. It's just a show of bravado,
Right.
exercise, and have a look at me. I'm here, and
So pecking order, setting that
Yeah,
pecking
basically,
order.
yeah.
Okay.
The young boys get out and spar all the time. They're so funny to watch. Oh, it's
So how long have you had this one?
about a month?
maybe 2 weeks, maybe.
Maybe nearly a month. Yeah, we've had him in care. Yeah, yeah.
So the two places that have anything like this is really Australia and was it New Guinea?
I think New Guinea got true kangaroos and things like that.
Yeah. And I guess, what was it, before the Australia actually and New Guinea used to be connected from what I understand. And then after the ice melted, then
Yeah.
now we have more travel
That's
destinations.
right, yeah.
So
But we've been isolated for millions of years, so
Yeah.
we've got these great animals that are so different than anywhere else in the world. The way they walk, the way they move, everything.
has any other country that you know of tried to introduce kangaroos?
Oh, well, I mean, we've got them in zoos and people have got them in their own personal collections and that
Uh-huh.
overseas and that sort of thing. But I mean, I think they live anywhere that you put them, basically.
Right.
You have a look at Australia's climate. They're down the snowy mountains and that it's snow and it's freezing. There's kangaroos live there.
And really
Out in
hot.
the middle of Australia, 45, 50 degrees. and
Right.
Different types of kangaroos live out there. So I think they can adapt to anything, and that's one of the reasons why people see them as a threat. Farmers see them as a threat, and other people see them as a threat and shoot them and turn them into food, pet industry, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
which we're both dead against.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's just like, you know, in America with deer, you know, the same thing. So, I mean, some people would rather shoot with cameras.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's what we're here for. So, how can people help you out with what you have going on here?
Well, we could certainly do with more carers. You can see how many we got is because we don't have as many carers as we'd like. We probably have 10 people in our group that look after macropods. And there's just one that just crashed into the door.
Oh, the
Cockatoo scared. We could do with more carers for sure. And the reason we've got so many is this is the bad time of the year to be getting a lot of joeys. It's joey season, and if we don't look after them, they have to be euthanised. So we basically end up with all the ones that the surplus ones that people can't look after, which sort of makes us housebound for quite a long time. And another way they can help us is to make donations to wildlife aid. It's very expensive when you take into account vet bills and
the milk.
Not just the food, but also the other things that go with the food, colostrum, different drugs and chemicals and that we use, and as I said, we are subsidised by the group, and that subsidy comes from donations.
Do you have to do any grooming or anything, or do they just pretty much take care of themselves?
If you have a look at their inside toe, give you a close look. You can see it's a dual toe. Evolution has designed that.
Oh wow,
That's
cool.
That is those two claws over, and that's their grooming toe.
Wow.
So they're always grooming themselves. But I mean, they get dirty, they get matted fur and that sort of thing. We clean them up a bit. But as they get older, they learn how to groom themselves and that sort of thing.
And when they're really tiny, like inside, we've got to teach them to hop in and out of a pouch, like they do with Mum, and we've got to do that. So yeah, it's exciting to see them actually jump into the pouch for the first time.
So let's say I was lucky enough to live in Australia, because I love it here. But if somebody lived in Australia and they said, you know what, I really think I would like to do this and help out. Obviously, they shouldn't just like make that decision and start collecting. How do they get trained in how to deal with rehabilitate?
It's illegal to own a kangaroo in New South Wales. In South Australia, if you find a kangaroo and rehabilitate it, you have to keep it. All the other states, they have to be released. So any of these kangaroos or wallabies or whatever, we have to release them after they've been rehabilitated. National Parks and Wildlife are the people that govern us, and if you came into Australia, for example, and you wanted to do this, you could contact the National Parks and Wildlife, and they would put you in contact with the group which is in your area. You can only sort of look after animals in your area, and you can become a member of that group. You receive training from your group, and off you go.
Wow. Okay, so the world's going to move to Australia. Because I could get used to this. I mean, waking up in the morning and seeing all these cute little pouches here and these beautiful little eyes, and oh my gosh.
There's nothing better first thing in the morning than coming out and they're all sitting here waiting. G'day, good morning. There you go.
Feeding frenzy, bottle time.
And
wow.
at night, sometimes in the summertime, we just sit out there, maybe have a beer or a drink or something. And you get all the little joeys out and they're all hopping around and
doing their hot laps.
Doing hot laps everywhere, and it's a great life.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of beer here in Australia.
we both work as well, so we've got to fit all this in amongst with our work. And
so while you're at work, they're pretty much taking care of themselves and they're okay with that.
I work afternoons, so when Brad's on day work, I feed all day, and then when I go for to work of an afternoon, he comes home from work and he takes over until I get home, and then we do the midnight feeds.
Wow, midnight feeds.
And then we're back
every night, midnight. So there's no day off.
And then 3 o'clock for me little ones in the morning. Yeah.
Every day.
Until they get to a certain weight, and you don't no longer have to do the 3 o'clock in the morning feed. But we're basically feeding from 6:30 in the morning till midnight every single day.
So you're like full-time parents.
Yeah.
Well, think about it, these little joeys, or not some of these bigger ones, but some of these smaller ones are equivalent to a premature baby.
Wow.
They shouldn't be born yet, and they're not due to be out of the pouch. And you're basically looking after premature babies, and you've got to give the same care and attention to these as you would a premature baby.
Do they make any noise or?
Oh yeah. If they're hungry or they're
scared.
Yeah, or because they stress very easy. They really do. and that's why we keep them very quiet, don't we, Pete?
Well, I think that's probably that genetic survival instinct, you know, where, you know, sets that stress so they can, yeah, exactly. But man, they just seem to be so social.
Yeah, we just show them the love and care and attention, and then when they're ready to go, off they go.
So have they ever bitten you before, or?
Well, actually, the other night she was fighting with one of them. I put my hands in between to separate them. She got hold of my hand. She wasn't going to let go. She had her teeth in one part and the claws in the other.
Yeah, she's saying you're
because she was jealous. But
yeah.
I mean, the wallaroos particularly nip you. If they're a very jealous animal.
Really?
They tend to get one person to be their mother. And the other people around are just white noise.
Yeah.
Mostly with Julie because she's here most of the time. And if I go to feed them, I'm fine to give them a bottle. But after that, get out of my way.
Really?
I'll take the bottle off you, but after that... He was only tiny. He was sick for a long while too.
Oh.
He had pneumonia, he had diarrhea.
Yeah, when we got him, he was very tiny and he got very sick.
Hi there, kid.
We've got a couple inside there that are still fairly
You like that
diarrhea.
fur? Looking for a nipple. There's not going to be one in that fur. Wow. Was there ever a point where you were saying, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work?
We say that every single day, but it means nothing. I enjoy it. I enjoy coming home from work. The first thing I do, all the little heads come out and I sit down and feed them and play with them.
Wow.
It is a lot of work, but it's our life. So.
I know. You're very cute. Oh, did you just put a little droplet in my finger?
Yep.
There we go.
Nice one.
It's like a candy dispenser. Okay, that sounds good. Here we go. Wow, it's a Pez dispenser. Wow, that's awesome.
So he's grooming himself there with that grooming tool.
Oh, it's like a comb.
Also, that foot, if you'd imagine this as being the foot, over millions of years, that finger there is the long toe, right, the big one out the front. Those two have merged together to be the grooming claw, and the thumb's just disappeared over evolution. So that's basically the grooming claw.
So they've invented their own comb.
There's no bone in that finger. It's just gristle. It's a loose floppy. I'll show you. It's a loose floppy toe.
No, I've got it now.
So it's got its own little custom comb right there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's way cool what Mother Nature does.
Mm.
So does each one of these have a job? I mean, the middle one and this one, we know this is the grooming one.
That's definitely the grooming one. They're just feet.
Yeah, just feet. Yeah, it's like our toes. It's like, okay, Eric.
Used as weapons too.
You can see the scars she's got just there on her nose.
Mm-hmm.
She got hit by a car not long ago and come home and her head was swollen out like the size of a watermelon. And yeah, we just looked after her and she came good. Yeah.
Wow, so she knew where to come back to.
Yeah. The head was just swollen right up like.
Wow.
Sedated for 3 days, weren't you?
Yeah, to keep her sedated. And
Wait, Mum. Hi, Mikey. Hey, Mikey.
So, do they have any like mate for life or just whatever? Yeah.
no, there's usually a buck in charge of the herd.
Okay.
Well, these are solitary animals. They don't live in a herd or a mob like the eastern greys. So they just move from area to area and that sort of thing. Whereas eastern greys live in a mob, and generally the big buck is the one that mates with all the females. I mean, he's not there all the time, and some of the other ones slip under the guard. But yeah, that's basically until he gets too old and someone else takes over that mob.
Right, Mum.
So who's in charge of the mob? Would it be the buck or would it be a female?
There is a place for the male and the female in the mob.
Okay.
The male usually sits, maybe 50, 100 yards away from the flock and just sits there in the mob and keeps a watch over them. And when he decides it's time to move somewhere they go to different places for their grazing and for their resting. When he decides to move, they move and follow him. And the female, she generally looks after all the other females. You see her the scars on her nose. She was badly bitten by dogs.
Mm-hmm.
She had stitches had 23 stitches all around through her face.
Wow.
She doesn't have a bottle, but it's the only way you're going to have a look in her pouch.
You want to have a look in her pouch? You won't be able to get to see this unless...
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
That's her third girl.
Third girl.
Cool. And see, that's what they're like from the time they crawl into the pouch until the time we get them. That's why they're so traumatised when they get here, because that's all they know.
Good girl.
So do you find that sometimes when they first come in, they're not quite sure yet, so it takes a little while?
Oh
for them
yeah, it'll take her a couple of days before she starts drinking properly, so I just offer her more fluid through the day. Yeah. And then she'll come really good and start drinking better.
So stick their claws in sometimes when you feed.
Do they really? They don't want that going, huh?
No.
So they do that to mom when mom is also...
What do they actually ooh, oh, ow. Actually they press the
Oh.
they press the stomach to bring the milk on.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times they put their hands up when you're feeding. Because in the pouch, that's the way they bring the milk on when they're hungry. Because they're attached to the teat the whole time when they're maybe not this size, but when they're smaller.
Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty long.
Until they're about, with Easties, they're about 400 grams, aren't they? Something like that. They're attached. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some great stuff inside the pouch there, and I noticed it was really long. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, the teat really stretches.
She has 4 teats, and she can have different types of milk out of those teeth. So she can still be feeding one at foot and still have one in the pouch, and they'll be getting different types of milk. Because at those ages they require different types of protein or different levels of protein and fat and things like that.
Mother Nature is incredible.
Yeah. She actually got 4 nipples, 2 on each side, and she can actually have twins. We've one of our other carers has had twins, twin joeys.
Wow. Is that very common?
No, not very common at all.
No, she found her out on the
The
road.
mother was
didn't
dead,
she?
been hit by a car and had twin joeys in there. So.
Wow.
Yeah, tiny little one.
An interesting fact you might not know about kangaroos is that they don't need a male to reproduce. She can carry several fertile eggs in her stomach for a couple of years. You can lock her in a paddock and keep her away from a male for 2 years and she can still have a joey.
Wow.
And what happens when her joey inside a pouch is big enough to get out, she can release that egg then to have a second joey, or if times are rough, it's a drought, she'll hang on to those eggs and not release them yet. Otherwise, she'll bring a joey into a world that's only going to starve to death.
Wow.
And then when it starts raining again, she can release it to have a joey.
See, that was another question I was going to ask, because like wolves, a lot of times they will have their litters depending on the environmental factors too, the size of litters. So that's interesting that they can actually...
Yeah, well, she can determine like the age of the joey she's already got, and then release the egg when she wants. Or she can, there's a special word for it, I can't think of the name of it. It's
I'll have to look that up.
word, yeah. Or when conditions are better. So
That's amazing.
It's okay.
I don't know how long the egg remains fertile in a stomach.
Okay, so you have Eric Sauce here in Australia, and you're watching Rock This Magazine, kangaroo style. Wow, this is just too cool. Yeah, I would love to do this. I could do this.